Committing to the Cisco Data Center certification track involves hundreds of hours of study, thousands of dollars in fees, and years of your career. 10 years ago, you just needed to know how to rack, stack, and configure legacy hardware. Today, enterprise networks live in a hybrid reality. Watch how this traditional three-tier architecture transforms into a modern spine leaf fabric. This flattened, highly scalable design is the standard for 2026 data centers, and it requires moving from hierarchical troubleshooting to fabric-based logic. Because the hardware and the architecture have evolved so drastically, following an outdated study path without a clear goal is a major financial risk. The biggest mistake you can make is treating these certifications like a mandatory staircase, where you just keep climbing until you hit the top. This matrix shows the modern track. Left, the old expectation, a straight line from CCNA to CCIE. Right, the 2026 landscape, the branching tree choosing cloud, ACI, or automation. The automation route prepares you for a different daily workflow than an ACI deep dive. You have to choose your route based on the specific job you want to do, rather than just taking the next available exam by default. Getting a return on your investment means identifying your terminal certification early and knowing exactly when to stop testing. That journey starts with the CCNA. It requires roughly 100 hours of focused study and is the mandatory entry point for everything else. Pulling up the CCNA metrics on this pipeline shows a moderate cost and time commitment. It validates basic routing, switching, and foundational topologies, but it has a hard limitation. The CCNA lacks the technical depth required to design architectures or take on senior roles. It's built specifically to qualify you for junior NOC technician positions or help desk roles. Think of the CCNA as a prerequisite for initial employment. The roles requiring architectural depth lie further down the roadmap. Once you have that foundational experience, the next step is the CCNP DC Core. This is the broad knowledge base required for mid-level engineers. Moving up the pipeline to the DC Core node, the scorecard changes. Cost and study hours jump significantly because you must cover compute, storage networks, and overarching architecture. Passing this proves you can manage, maintain, and troubleshoot an existing enterprise environment. The trade-off here is that DC Core makes you a generalist. You know the entire ecosystem, but you lack the specialized depth required to lead complex deployments. Stopping your education right after the core exam leaves you vulnerable in the job market. You need a specialization to command the salaries associated with senior engineering. One of the most common paths is the DCCAC, an intense, hyper-focused deep dive into application-centric infrastructure. Right now, enterprise adoption of ACI is high, but the pool of engineers who actually know how to deploy it is small. That scarcity drives up salaries. But to get there, you have to commit to grueling lab hours to master a proprietary technology. This risk versus reward scale plots the DCCAC certification, showing a high score in the vendor lock-in risk metric. If your employer moves to white box switching or the public cloud, the specific skills you spend hundreds of hours learning lose significant value. Specialized paths are highly lucrative, but they tie your personal career trajectory directly to Cisco's continued market share. At the very top of the track is the CCCIE data center. Achieving this requires over 1,000 hours of study and thousands in fees, and an intense dedication to edge case troubleshooting. The exam itself culminates in an 8-hour practical lab simulation where you build, break, and fix complex topologies under a strict time limit. This credential identifies you as a subject matter expert and often serves as the gatekeeper for principal architect roles. Look closely at this effort versus salary ROI chart. The salary line climbs sharply as you complete your CCNP, but plateaus significantly during the CCIE tier. For most engineers, pairing a CCNP with an AWS or Azure certification yields a much higher return on investment. The CCIE is a significant achievement, but realistically, it's only a rational investment if you are aiming to work for a value-added reseller or managing a massive, dedicated on-prem environment. So instead of asking which exam is hardest, you need to ask which exam matches your current career stage. We can map this out using this audience matching matrix. The horizontal axis represents your current experience level, and the vertical axis targets your career goal, splitting daily operations and high-level architecture. Where you fall dictates exactly how to allocate study time and budget. Earning certifications is pointless unless they are precisely calibrated to the job function you intend to perform. If you are an entry-level tech, your action plan is to stop testing immediately after passing the CCNA and put all your focus into gaining hands-on troubleshooting experience in a live environment. If you fall into the mid-level optimizer category, this profile card shows your ideal stack. Target the CCNP, pick an automation or ACI specialty, and pair it directly with a fundamental cloud certification. In the 2026 market, this hybrid approach gives you the highest possible salary-to-effort ratio, proving you can handle legacy on-prem hardware and modern cloud integrations. For the elite aspirant, the criteria is strict. Pursue the CCIE only if an employer demands it, or it directly generates consultancy revenue. Success in the 2026 Cisco Data Center roadmap requires identifying strategic exits and knowing exactly when your personal ROI has peaked.